One of the earliest philosophers to influence the Enlightenment was the Englishman Thomas Hobbes. Hobbes had a simple argument. He felt that societies needed strong governments, such as absolute monarchies, which means there is one ruler, such as a king. He felt these absolute monarchies needed to control the people. Hobbes was highly influenced by the awful things such as death, violence, and torture that were going on in the war in England at the time. These wars led Hobbes to have some basic beliefs about human nature. Hobbes argued that man is brutal if left alone. If there were no laws or authority figures to keep people, then they would attack, steal, murder, and enslave one another. Life would be chaos. So Hobbes felt people needed a government. He felt like people formed a contract with their government where they agreed to obey the government in exchange for the government giving them security and allowing them to avoid chaos. Since Hobbes believed that human nature was so violent and wars were so brutal, Hobbes argued that the best government was an absolute monarchy, meaning one ruler. He decided that governments needed a lot of power to ensure the peace. Next, we're going to talk about John Locke. John Locke was probably the most important philosopher of the 17th century. He wrote two important works that would change history. One was called An Essay Concerning Human Understanding, and the other work that he wrote was the Two Treatises of Government. In Essay Concerning Human Understanding, Locke promoted a new and shocking idea that all people were born as a blank slate. He felt that the mind begins completely empty. So then, where does that knowledge come from? He believed that it is all learned from the moment we are born and then onward by your personal experiences. So, what you see, hear, and feel. From these experiences, people would learn their knowledge. For example, when a child first experiences fire, that experience teaches him or her that the fire will warm him. But if he or she gets too close, they learn that they can feel pain. And based on this experience, the child learns that fire is hot. In Two Treatises of Government, Locke wrote about the role of nature of good government. Because Locke believed that all humans are born as a blank slate, he believed all human beings had a certain equality between them. Due to everyone's human nature, there were certain things that all people desired. Think about it. No matter whether you are a teenager living in America today, like you are, or if you were a Chinese peasant living 1,000 years ago, there are some things that all humans always seek and strive for. Well, what do all humans want? They all want, according to John Locke, life, which means everyone wants to make sure they are safe, liberty, so nobody wants to be enslaved, they want freedom, and property, so the protection of your property. No one wants to have their things stolen. John Locke called these rights of life, liberty, and property humans' natural rights. So, if everyone deserves their natural rights to life, liberty, and property, where does the government fall into this? Well, Locke argued that humans formed a social contract with the government. Humans knew that their rights needed to be protected. If there were no laws, other people would go around taking their life, liberty, and property. So, the social contract was made. People agreed to follow the government's rules, and in return, the government would agree to protect people's rights. The most important idea tied to the social construct was the idea of the right of revolution. Because the government operates as a contract, the contract can be broken if one side does not hold up their end of the bargain. So, if the government starts abusing people's rights instead of protecting them, then the people have the right to rebel and no longer obey their government. So, what this means is that if the government stops protecting them, then the people are able to stop being obedient to that government. So, at a time when kings claim to rule as a divine right from God, so they claim that God gave them the right to be king, Locke's argument that people had the right to rebel was huge. Locke's ideas would directly inspire America's founding fathers later on and inspired them to rebel against Britain in 1776.